We all know the weekend is the roughest, the toughest. If you haven't tried out Outlast, use code PPU, click apply, so the code can be applied, PPU. We also have a referral code if you want to play Outlast. Use code PPU to get your first deposit matched up to $200. We also have a referral code to get you an extra $25 so you can start off with $20 and play with $65. Jonas Valanciunas over 10.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Desmond Bain, 4.5 rebounds, 29.5 PRA. Andrew Wiggins over 4.5 rebounds, 17.5 points. No Steph Curry. We got James Harden, no Embiid, maybe. Over 7.5 rebounds, 9.5 assists, 8.5 free throws made. Gary Trent Jr. over 1.5 blocks and steals. Julius Randle under a half a double-double. He will not get a double-double against Utah unless something fluky happens. We got Jordan Poole over 23.5 points. Mitchell Robinson, 8.5 rebounds. Josh Hart, 19.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 30.5 PRA. Eubanks, that's Drew Eubanks. We got 11.5 points. Malcolm Brogdon over 20.5 points. Christian Wood over 17.5 points. No Ja Morant over 28.5 PRA. Kevin Porter Jr., 14.5 points over, 5.5 assists, 17.5 points for Jalen Green, over 23.5 PRA, because they whooped Houston whooped Memphis last time they played with Ja Morant. We got Taj Jones over 13.5 points, Steven Adams over 9.5 points, 11 rebounds over, 24.5 PRA. We got Kevin Huerter, no Trae Young, 19.5 points. No, that's 19.5 PRA. 12.5 points over for Kevin Huerter. Gotta take that with no Trae Young. DeAndre Hunter over 1.5 assists, over 20.5 PRA. Jackson Hayes over 10.5 points, 17.5 PRA, over 1 block and 1 steal. We got Gallinari over 13.5 points, over 20.5 PRA. Sabonis over 20.5 points, over 5.5 assists, over 38.5 PRA. DeAndre Ayton over 18.5 points. Trey Lyles over 19.5 PRA, over 11.5 points, over 6.5 rebounds. Devin Booker over 5.5 assists, over 38.5 PRA. RJ Barrett over 23.5 points. Tyrese Maxey over 23.5 PRA. Donovan Mitchell over 25.5 points. Evan Fournier over 14.5 points, 19.5 PRA. We got Jason Tatum over 42.5 PRA, over 29.5 points, over 7.5 rebounds. Jaylen Brown over 3.5 assists. Jokic over 24.5 points. Robert Williams over 9 points, over 8.5 rebounds, over 19.5 PRA. Monte Morris over 11.5 points, 17.5 PRA. Jeff Green over 9.5 points, 13.5 PRA. Pascal Siakam, no Fred VanVleet. We got over 22.5 points. We got Tobias Harris over 16.5 points, over 6 rebounds, over 25.5 PRA, if no Embiid. We got Scotty Barnes over 17.5 points. We have Jakob Poeltl, definitely over 12.5 points, definitely over 8.5 rebounds, over 2 assists, over 24.5 PRA. We got Keldon Johnson over 5.5 rebounds, over 19.5 points. Devontae Murray over 7.5 rebounds, over 8.5 assists, over 39.5 PRA. Also use deposit code, bonus code, PPU, click apply. Also, we have a referral code, get your extra $25. Get your first deposit matched up to $200 by using code PPU if this is your first time on Outlast DFS. We got Jokic over 36.5 PR, 32.5 PA. James Harden over 32.5 PR, 34.5 PA. Jason Tatum over 37.5 PR, that's 32.5 PR. Julius Randle under 33.5 PR. Jonas Valanciunas over 27.5 PR. Jakob Poeltl over 21.5 PR. Tobias Harris over 24.5 PR. Christian Wood over 26.5 PR. Over DeAndre Ayton over 29.5 PR. Robert Williams over 18.5 PR. Wendell Carter Jr. over 27.5 PR. Josh Hart over 26.5 PR. Over 24.5 PA. Keldon Johnson over 24.5 PR. Desmond Bain over 26.5 PR. Steven Adams over 20.5 PR. Over 12.5 PA. Jackson Hayes over 16.5 PR. Over 11.5 PA. Trey Lyles over 18.5 PR. Brandon Clark over 16.5 PR. Devontae Murray over 32.5 PA. Sabonis over 26.5 PA. Tyus Jones over 20.5 PA. If this is your first time trying out Outlast DFS, click the link in the description. Also, use bonus code PPU. You cannot get a bonus deposit match unless you have a code, and the code for you is PPU. Also, we have an extra code in the description. Get an extra $25 for referral. Click apply on these codes so they'll apply. Start off with 20 bucks. You get $65 worth in the game with just $25. With just $20. I'm gonna drop the injury report right here.